Back in 2016, this one in-game item sold for a whopping 100,000 US dollars. Then, in 2021, the current owner of this item was offered $1.5 million USD for it. However, they declined the offer, stating that the item was worth a lot more. But why? It's an in-game item. It doesn't exist in the real world. What game is this item from? Who's buying it? And more importantly, why is it worth so much? The year is 2013. Valve had just released Counter-Strike Global Offensive 1 year prior. The game by all merits is doing well, but it could be doing better. There are a lot of people playing Counter-Strike Global Offensive. It's successful by all merits, but there's a lot of players that are hesitant to switch off of Counter-Strike Source or Counter-Strike 1.6. Valve wants to get the player count up to compete with other big MMOs and other big competitive games out there. They want to drive old players and new alike to their brand new game. So Valve has to do two things. First of all, they have to fix it because when it launched, it was kind of a piece of shit. But then after they fix it, they have to go ahead and add something new. Something that will drive new players to it and that will keep old players interested. And taking a risk on an update that you don't know is going to pay off is very, very dangerous. So Valve decided to look internally. They decided to look at what worked and they decided to see what things they had in their other games that they could implement in Counter-Strike. So what better a game to take inspiration from than their other FPS game that was doing very well at the time? Team Fortress 2. Now, if you've been playing video games for any time at all, you probably know what TF2 is. It is arguably one of the most influential hero shooters out there, and will probably remain as such until these two f***s get it right. However, one of the most important things changed in TF2, something that would influence video game microtransactions for years. Something they would replicate in Counter-Strike Global Offensive, arguably to higher success. Valve released the Manconomy update in 2010, an update that would change the game's economy through the addition of microtransactions, and change how we see the values of video game skins as a whole. Fun fact, Valve also made the Battle Pass. No, I'm not kidding, and no, it was not Fortnite. They made the compendium for Dota 2, which had challenges that were rewarded you with skins and items in-game, which was firstly released all the way back in 2013. I love you, Valve, but you and Bethesda really f***ed everything up. The Manconomy update was a huge update to not only Team Fortress 2, but to Steam itself. Steam being the virtual marketplace for video games and the launcher for Valve exclusive titles like Counter-Strike. If you downloaded Counter-Strike from somewhere other than Steam, you probably need to scan your computer. The most notable thing the Manconomy update added was the Steam wallet itself and virtual item trading. Now, when you give players of your game a trading system as well as virtual items they can purchase with real-world money, the economy tends to boom. But Valve didn't just add that. No. They knew they had a large player base that was free to play and didn't really intend on buying anything. So how do you incentivize people who probably won't buy anything in your game to actually buy things? Introducing the key and crate system. In this system, players play through matches and every now and then a random crate will be dropped. Various items can be dropped randomly too for free, but we're just going to be talking about the crates for now. The crates are entirely free, you get them at random, and you get a certain allotted amount per week. However, to open these cases, you have to spend real money and buy keys. To incentivize players to buy even more keys and buy these crates in the first place, there are rarities that are not available to be dropped in the game, exclusively found in these crates. Items with such rare drop rates that they're not even a full percentage. And whether you wanted one or not, it's just sitting there in your inventory, begging to be opened. This update was a huge success, but Valve wasn't done. Valve wanted to make even more money and they wanted to have their users make money as well. Valve in 2012 would introduce the Steam Marketplace. a marketplace where you can sell in-game items for real-world currency. At the time, it was only limited to TF2, but in the future, games would be added to it. This money was locked onto Steam, so you couldn't buy anything outside of Steam, but it was still real money nonetheless. I could go into more intricacies and similarities between the two, but for now, let's skip over TF2 and go straight to CSGO. Valve had played all of their cards correctly. However, they couldn't just carbon copy the TF2 update into Counter-Strike. After all, the highlights of Counter-Strike are the weapons, not the characters. So Valve decided to reskin the classic Counter-Strike weapons with new finishes, adding over 100 in this update alone. But that wasn't all. Valve wanted the weapons to be even more unique, to have each one you open be completely different than another. Valve would introduce the wear system onto weapons in Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Basically, as a weapon is created or opened, a random value is given to it called a float. This value designates how beat up or nice and pristine an item is. Not every weapon has the same float ranges, but the universal law is that the closer it is to 1, the worse and more beat up it is, and the closer it is to 0, the better it looks and the more pristine it is. Wears in order go from battle scarred to well worn to field tested to minimal wear and finally factory new. Factory new being the most pristine and unscuffed weapon you can possibly get. Although because of these random float values, no factory new, no field tested, no well worn, no battle scarred, etc. weapon will look the same as another one. You can have a minimal wear weapon that's just on the cusp of being field tested and still looks like Although at a certain point, once float values are really close to each other, there really are no discernible differences, or maybe even no differences at all. Also, there is a system in this game that accounts for the patterns on a skin. Most skins that are designed for a certain weapon look the same. However, if they are pattern-based, the pattern is applied to the skin at complete random. Kinda like this. Yeah. Adding a whole nother element of randomization and craziness to the game. Much like TF2, the cases that contain most of these weapons do drop after games, and Valve knew from Team Fortress 2 that they needed to incentivize players to open them. They already had the idea of a rarity system, they already had the Steam market, all they needed was what item would be the most highly sought after. Of course, the most popular guns in the game would get really good skins and they would be worth a lot, but they needed something different. They needed something that stood out more than the guns, something they could alter the 3D model of without pissing off the community, something that looked way different than the default skin, and something that when you saw it in game, you knew it was special. Introducing knives.
Oh shit.
Yeah. As you can see, the community really likes these things, and they're worth a lot because of that. The rarity system in CSGO goes from white to light blue to darker blue to purple to pink to red to gold. There is a rarity that is higher than gold called contraband. However, only one item falls in this category, which simply exists in this category because some twerp decided to steal someone else's artwork and Valve unknowingly added it to the game. Knives are only available in cases. As of today, the highest item that can drop after games is pink rarity level, but this is exceedingly rare and you're more than likely going to find it in a case. Typically, you're going to get white and light blue items, and one of the main incentives to buy cases is that the lowest tier item you can get out of them is a darker blue item. Shortly after the arms deal update, trade-up contracts would be added in the following month, allowing players to trade 10 items of one specific rarity to a single item of the next rarity, excluding yellow or gold items. Oh yeah, and also stat track. Valve introduced on certain weapons, if you're lucky, a kill counter that keeps track of how many kills you have for that specific skin. Usually it adds to the value on guns, but funnily enough on knives, since it scratches the knife, it doesn't really add any value. Even though it does affect the rarity, and theoretically should increase the price as well.
Fun fact, red stat track items are actually rarer than knives. So that MP7 Bloodsport you opened yesterday in Battle Scarred that's worth $5? I'm sorry.
Over the years, Valve will go ahead and elaborate on these systems, adding even more types of skins to the game. In no particular order, they would add gloves, which are the same rarity as knives and sometimes even higher or the same price as knives, operator skins, souvenir cases, which would only drop during special events in CSGO, and add the special souvenir branding to an item, only increasing its rarity and value, as well as patches and pins for the operator skins, and most notably, stickers. Stickers are exactly what they sound like. They're stickers that can only be applied to gun skins. When these stickers are put onto certain weapons to match or increase the value of the weapon, it's typically called a craft. And some of these stickers being discontinued and never coming back are worth a lot of money, coming out of a capsule that only costed an initial 99 cents. Capsules and cases that are discontinued or don't drop nearly as frequently as they used to do tend to go up, as well as the skins in those cases and capsules. So let's answer the question, who are buying these skins? To put it simply, skin collectors are the ones that are going after the most highly sought after skins. These are people that got into the Counter-Strike community either now and have a lot of money, or got into the Counter-Strike community a long time ago and lucked out with trading. That's right, trading. No, not opening cases, because it is the least profitable thing you can do, especially if they're souvenir ones. I know it worked out for Anomaly, and I know OniPixel somehow opened 50 knives and 47 cases, but let's be honest with ourselves, if we keep gambling at the rate they do, we're probably going to end up under a bridge huffing paint somewhere. Don't get it twisted, it is possible to become a skin collector. There are plenty that make more than your local doctor, but for the most part, they got into it early or they already have a lot of money to begin with. The skin collectors are the ones buying the $100,000 knives, the $100,000 case-hardened karambits, the weapon that I introduced to you at the beginning of this video. Knowing what we know now, we can probably deduce why it's worth so much, at least to the community. First of all, it's a knife. And not just any knife, it's a karambit. Karambit being one of the community's favorite knives. But on top of that, it has a really good pattern. This is the texture for a case-hardened pattern. Typically, case hardens look like burnt metal. They small tinge of blue here and there. However, if you look out and you get a predominantly blue pattern, you got what was called a blue gem. This is exceedingly rare. It does not happen often. Because of this, this item should theoretically be impossible. It is the lowest float of any of the karambit blue gems in the entire game, as well as being the bluest pattern you can possibly get. The odds of this are pretty much like winning the lottery. So if you're a part of the Counter-Strike community, or maybe you learned a thing or two about skins during this video, do you think this knife was worth it? I mean, the guy who bought it for $100,000 definitely made out good. Do you think it's worth the probably $2 million it's worth now? I mean, I'm not judging you if you do. I'm just saying, like, there might be some other items that I might, you know, first consider before spending $1 million on some pixels. Basically, the TLDR of this video is Valve are masters when it comes to making money. They pioneered microtransactions as we know them in video games today, helped create loot boxes with randomized chances, they're the first people to make the first ever battle pass, and create items with randomized values and tons of different variations that are completely digital that are worth real world money. Sounds kind of familiar. And people in the pursuit of making a ton of profit and making a ton of money tend to buy them, either as an investment or solely to flex on others because they have a small primate brain and shiny rare things make them feel special. Or maybe I'm just salty about the fact that when I was 14, I used a 10-cent affiliate code, got a $110 butterfly knife scorched, quickly sold it that same day, and it's now worth $800. I'm OG Presto. Thanks for watching.